Hi, I'm Mark, and on my channel I talk about UK politics and Brexit from an outside view. Although I do know the UK from the inside as well, so don't worry. For the first time, the new British Prime Minister was facing the weekly question and answer session in the House of Commons. Starmer blamed his predecessors for the country's crises. And with this, it was kind of a premiere for Starmer. But what we saw about him and the situation of the country was indeed quite interesting. In the reverse seating arrangement in the House of Commons, it took less than 10 minutes for Keir Starmer, who is now sitting in the first row on the right, as seen from the Speaker of the Parliament's chair, to bring up the past for the first time. And for the first time, Starmer had to undergo the ritual that takes place every Wednesday at noon in the House of Commons. The questions to the Prime Minister, or the PMQs, last half an hour, the content of which is always new, but the procedure is highly ritualized. After 10 minutes, Starmer speaks for the first time about the legacies of the last 14 years that his new government team cannot clear up overnight. In his first PMQs, the new British head of government, Keir Starmer, showed himself, willing to compromise. Keir Starmer was in a good mood and quite generous. In the first PMQs, he congratulated newly elected backbenchers of all stripes on their election and complimented his Tory predecessor Rishi Sunak and joked, unusually often. And the Labour leader even treated Scottish nationalist Stephen Flynn politely, although the SNP parliamentary group leader addressed an uncomfortable topic: child poverty on the island. And the day before, Flynn had forced a vote in the debate on the government programme, thereby provoking the first rebellion in the Labour group. 7 left-wing backbenchers joined the SNP motion and called for the immediate abolition of the child benefit cap for welfare recipients. Because the government has a huge majority, the request was still rejected. The measure of the previous Conservative government, which was highly controversial from the start, has been in effect since 2017. Since then, welfare recipients have only received additional benefits for 2 children, with exceptions such as twins or triplets. Child benefit is normally cut for the 3rd and each subsequent child. In addition to curbing the exorbitantly growing social budget, the Tories also put forward moral arguments at the time. Those who are a burden on the state should not make the family's financial situation even worse by having additional children. This aim of the legislation was completely missed, as the developments of the past few years show. More than 330,000 children are now affected by the cap, and a total of 2.5 million young people under the age of 18 live in poverty. Citing the difficult state of public finances, according to the Statistics Office, the national debt reached 99.5% of gross domestic product in the last quarter. Starmer and his Finance Minister Rachel Reeves, or Chancellor of the Exchequer, refused to abolish the cap immediately during the election campaign, but promised a rapid review. Since the election, the Prime Minister has tasked the Ministers for Social Affairs and Education with developing a comprehensive strategy to combat child poverty. Starmer assured the House of Commons that his government is devoting a great deal of energy to the problem. There are many indications that Reeves will give an indication of when she intends to abolish the hated cap during an inventory of the State Treasury announced for this month. There is no doubt that the issue is a burning issue for many Labour MPs, as backbencher Kim Johnson emphasises. This must be a priority for the coming budget, she said. And because her own motion was not voted on, social policy expert Johnson voted with the government on that Tuesday evening for reasons of unity, unlike the rebel septet, which includes close confidants of former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell and Rebecca Long-Bailey, And Starmer immediately stripped the members of the so-called Socialist Campaign Group of their parliamentary group status for 6 months. This was a macho potency test, as SGC leader Sarah Sultana sneered on the BBC. Abolishing the cap should be a priority for Labour government, she said. The fact that the 7 left-wingers joined forces with their idol Jeremy Corbyn, the reformist right-wing populists, the Greens and the Scottish nationalists, has embittered loyalists such as Jonathan Ashworth from the Labour Together think tank. The suspension of the parliamentary group membership is fine, says the close Starmer confidant, and he says they should participate in the working group instead of voting against their own government with an empty gesture. Keir Starmer appeared good-humoured and generous. In his first PMQs, he, as I said, even congratulated newly elected backbenchers of all colours, as we would say here in Germany, and I was really surprised how much he joked and how he treated Rishi Sunak. And that was, quite a different atmosphere to other times, even from the opposition benches, because Sunak was he looked kind of relieved in the whole thing. I've not seen Sunak very often in this kind of mood without being sarcastic. When he answered on question from Starmer, while Starmer was the leader of the opposition and Sunak was the prime minister, the answers often were quite sarcastic. But on that day, I don't know, Sunak kind of looked a little bit free. But still, the benefit cap for children was indeed a very, very, let's say, bad start for Labour, because they are members. They have a really big majority here. But if on the kind of first vote in Parliament you already lose 7 of your group, that is not, how to put it. This is not kind of a postcard start or whatever you want to call this. But nevertheless, we will see what they will do with that cap, because, of course, the Tories were not only thinking about people that were born in the UK to get benefits, because we all know that especially families with a migration background are more probable to have more children than the bio-Britons. And we have something like this here with the worst, with a word like that in German. And that is, of course, just another of the targeted, I often call it a racist thing with the Tories in these deals. But we will see what Rachel Reeves will do with that, and we will see what this topic will be when we see the next budget in the autumn, and how Rachel Reeves will treat that. But we will see if the backbenchers like Kim Johnson are right that this has to be a priority for the coming budget, and if Rachel Reeves will make it one of those. But there are definitely more in the Labour faction that feel like Kim Johnson and even the rebels. But being in a group, you really have to think about what you do. And of course, Starmer withdrew the whip from those members. We all expected this. But the Socialist Campaign Group says a lot already in the name of that group. It reminds me a little bit of the extreme opposite of the European Research Group we all remember very, very well. And we know that the Corbyn wing of the Labour Party is extreme left wing, like the ERG is extreme right wing in the Tory party. And that will definitely be kind of a deja vu when we will hear more from that group, I'm quite sure, especially since Jeremy Corbyn was voted into parliament as an independent in his old constituency. So that is definitely a promise for some more trouble in parliament for Labour. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.